In 1957, the Soviet Union launched Sputnik 2 into the dark. Inside sat a dog named Laika, the first living creature sent into orbit. Because the vessel lacked any mechanism for a return journey, her flight was a definitive one-way trip into the silence of space. Author Haruki Murakami uses this historical isolation as the foundation for his novel, Sputnik Sweetheart. He translates this physical vacuum into an internal emotional state. He proposes that people are human satellites. We trace independent orbits through the void, occasionally drifting near another metallic body, but we ultimately remain locked inside our own separate shells. The narrative maps the geography of unrequited longing, tracking the signal of a love that moves in only one direction. The story follows a specific trio. Our narrator is a grounded, lonely teacher who loves Sumire. Sumire is a chaotic, aspiring novelist who wears mismatched socks and obsesses over 19th century literature. However, Sumire's attention is fixed on Miu, a sophisticated, married woman 17 years her senior. Desire follows a linear path. The narrator reaches for Sumire, who reaches for Miu, but every connection hits a dead end. Sumire feels no attraction, and Miu remains emotionally inaccessible. Instead of a connected triangle, they remain points drifting apart. The tragedy of these satellites is the realization that they are tracing a fixed path around a person they can never touch. Before meeting Miu, Sumire is defined by her fierce, unpolished independence. She is aggressively messy, lives in a room overflowing with books, and views the world through the lens of a budding novelist. She adopts the beatnik lifestyle as her core identity, wandering Tokyo in a loose coat and heavy boots, treating the works of Jack Kerouac like a sacred text. That identity is tested when she meets Miu at a wedding. Murakami frames this sudden love as a tornado that levels everything in its path: Angkor Wat, the Indian jungles, the Iranian deserts, pulverizing her established world. While many romantic narratives treat passion as a catalyst for growth, this encounter acts as a destructive force. The intensity of Sumire's longing begins to destabilize her sense of self. This overwhelming brand of love poses a specific danger. To stay within the orbit of another, a person may be forced to abandon their own original trajectory. The shift begins with a simple mistake. When Sumire mentions her literary idols, Miu confuses the term beatnik with the Soviet satellite Sputnik. From that error, Sumire crowns Miu her Sputnik Sweetheart. To align with Miu's polished corporate lifestyle, Sumire begins a process of total assimilation. She cuts her hair, trades her boots for high heels, dons expensive Italian dresses, and stops smoking. Most critically, she abandons her word processor and stops writing altogether. Despite these sacrifices, the distance remains. Miu admits she is a half-person, someone who lost her capacity for desire years ago. Sumire has remodeled her entire life for someone who is incapable of returning the feeling. The narrator is left behind in Tokyo, assuming the role of a helpless mission control. He receives faint, late-night phone calls from Sumire, listening as her original voice fades and she drifts further away. This assimilation is a form of self-erasure. In her attempt to become the perfect companion for Miu, Sumire effectively destroys the very artist she set out to be. While traveling through Europe as Miu's assistant, Sumire's physical transformation is complete. She looks elegant, but she is now entirely severed from her internal creative self. Her thoughts return to the image of Laika in Sputnik 2. She imagines the dog looking out the window of that silent, metallic capsule, suspended in the infinite void. Sumire wonders what the dog actually saw in that state of absolute, inescapable loneliness. Murakami defines his characters as human satellites, each vibrating within their own cold, metallic shells. The story illustrates a painful paradox. The closer these satellites drift toward one another, the more acutely they realize the vast, empty space between them. The tornado of Sumire's love for Miu left no creative legacy behind. It simply stripped her of her voice, her identity, and her connection to the world she once knew. Through this lens, love is not a bridge that brings two people together. It is a force that removes all distractions and leaves a person exposed, forcing them to confront their own profound isolation. We are all metallic bodies, tracing our own paths. We may cross close enough to share a brief moment of warmth before continuing our silent, solitary journeys into the dark.